You want to read it, Canaanland, the Moor and Moray, read his book in Spanish, the Mormon say, and said that he was black, was introduced by those others. You know, goddamn motion they got me looking at them. Artifact, to my heart and laugh. I be running through the scene like I'm on a lab. The way we left them on the scene, put us on the map. So I be all up on the scene, look how hard for it's on the march, artifact, like I'm on the mission. See, I be running through the scene like I'm on the mission. The way they left us on the scene, made them hard to miss them. See, I be all up on the scene, looking for my shit like red flag. You that, you be a sassy. Took a blow, my fans die like I'm Selassie. Took the cold, young men die, we everlasting. In the cold like North King, in Alaska. Natural in the pastor, taking it down my mind like a disaster. Apples in the fastest. You don't represent the cocaine bloodline, more right bloodline. Welcome to the front line. Maybe I want mine. I'm going chasing them, cutting up in the lunch line. I call it crunch time. I'm trying to punch some, but I ain't on time. I'm looking to our list. I'm working overtime. Didn't CD 1787, time 711, higher than 77. Study, no captain. Got a stomach to nothing. Who be trapped in the house? I'm all alone like Kevin. I didn't make my case with law and record. I tripped and saw the flies on no head. Listen, I keep the government on the top of the justice. For the 7 days to get looking for that on the more artifact. Like I'm on the miss. See, I be running through the scene like I'm on the mission. And when they left us on the scene, made them up and listen. See, I be all up on the scene looking for my shit like. Destruction of the recovery from a grave Alaska. Always challenge jurisdiction of your captains. Cap stand on your square. No apron of retractors who manifest tension. Burn up your factor. Minds man mantra. Know that off mantra. Get out the lower stuff and vibrate your chakras. Walking on the higher road, my staff on my levels on my line. Is my God protected more with the seventh up. Talk about the halos, celestial pharaohs. Exposed those Socrates and Plato's. They chopped down my cherry tree and still couldn't bury me. In their secret lodges, they pretend to be me. Indiana Jones, national treasures, angels and demons, and one world extended. Raise up late smiles, alien, reptilian, running from the governments with more civilians, invisible wars. Police state as prison, upliftment falling from their mental prisons. 5-point star drawn, protecting wormholes, leads to the hands and backs of current folks. All the more artifact, like I'm on the miss. See, I be running through the scene like I'm on a mission. When they left us on the scene, made them hard to miss them. See, I be all up on the scene, looking for my shit like. Remember, when it became a town in 1596, Africans who were fleeing from 7-Eleven were calling ourselves Moor, Moorn. From 7-Eleven to 5. Right, peace, fam. Peace, fam. You are now tuned into MHHS, Eyes Wide Open, Sons of Allah, for August 2020. Today is the 27th, but this is for the record, MHHS, Eyes Wide Open. I am Ms. Rain, my left L. I'm here as well, co-hosting and hosting, unmuted with my brethren, Cujo Iwo L. Peace, Noble.
Peace, peace. Islam, Moor. Peace to all the Moors.
Nah, bro.
Islam to all. Everywhere, wherever you're at. Peace and love. Welcome.
Right, so for sure, man, for sure. I know it was a couple of difficulties to the start, but we here, man. We good.
You already know. Yeah. You know how it goes already.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I was looking for that intro piece y'all did off the L Fire, and I don't see it on the list, but I'll make sure it's back up there, man. But yeah, good music for the vibes. First and foremost, I just want to say, for real, bro, like, it's still great to be alive in these times, bro.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that, like, when you think that, nobody really knew what was what with this whole COVID thing. But for most part, majority of the people that I do know has survived. Like, we still here. You know, I don't know. I'm not calling no timelines. I'm just saying it still feels good to be alive, bro. And that's real talk, bro. So that being the case, you know, 2020, man, like August, there's so much we could start with. You know, you got NBA players, you know, pump faking, I guess, at this point, because they were saying how this was, you know, real talk, bro. They was faking the three, bro, because they said they was going to be protesting, but from the recent, I mean, they said this yesterday, they wasn't going to be playing and all of this, but it looks like they're going to start again Friday tomorrow or Saturday, something like that.
Oh, it's back up? They're back up?
Sometime in the next 48 hours, they might be back out there just, you know, balling,
right.
y'all. You know how it go. You know how it go. Yeah, but it's just interesting because it's like, there's so much going on, and I think that it's kind of funny. I spoke about this briefly the other day. Oh yeah, if you could put the call-in number in the chat, please feel free to do that too, or I'll put it in after I'm finished speaking.
Oh no, it's scrolling. Yeah. It's scrolling on the bottom of the screen right now. If they're reading, if they're watching, but I don't know.
Oh, okay,
yeah, it's up there.
True indeed. All right, that, no doubt. Yeah, so it's just interesting because people are showing out more so that there's some sort of frustration or emotional disturbance within certain sectors or all sectors. I guess, you know, it's everybody's, it's trying to be brought to everybody's attention, you know, but I don't know, it just seemed like a big pump fake with the NBA, you know, boycotting in the playoffs. Not that they wasn't in their right to do that, I respect it, but it just feel like, why do that? And then, you know, 48 hours.
Oh, sorry, hold on one sec. Hold on one sec. I'm getting some type of background noise or something. There's some lines open still?
Nah. But hold up though. Hold up. I'm gonna give the floor over to you. I got a fan going. I'm gonna turn it off real quick, but I'm gonna give the floor over to you.
All right, Islam. No, I think it's on my side. It was doing this earlier too. I don't think it's yours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's yours.
Like, I don't even know if it's detectable on the airwaves. I mean, I can hear it. I know it's there.
Or yeah, I don't know. It's, I don't know. It's not irritating yet, but I might try to call back in. But yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Okay. How about now? What's good now? Can you hear me clear? Or
no, you're clear. You're clear. It's just the thing's just annoying me, but it didn't really annoy me yet, so it's all good.
All right, hold up, Moore. I'm gonna yield over to you real quick.
Islam. Well, yeah. So with everything going on, with everything going on with NBA and whatever else, you know, it's like Ms. saying, everybody's on some pump faking now. The black shoot 'em up guys are pump faking because more people getting murdered. They're not doing nothing. They're just standing there posing with guns still. The NBA people, if they get back to playing tomorrow, obviously, you know, they were playing games or whatever. But again, it's just a great time to be alive, great time to be aware, great time to know about our nationality and birthright, so we don't fall victim to the madness that's going on out there. That we know they've been leading up to this with these zombie movie themes going on. They've been leading up to these places where, you know, the people's incompetence is really zombieism. The people's cognitive dissonance is really zombieism. The people's social engineering mindset that they have, European mindset that they have, all that is the zombieism right now. So it's wise to, get your nationality and birthrights up, and that's going to be your hatchet and your chainsaw and whatever else you need to battle these zombies out here, because it's only them that are caught up as usual. We were talking about the other day how on one of the Instagram lives we were talking about how it's obvious that all these people who are claiming to be in favor of our people or whatever, they know what's up, because we're the only ones that they classify as a color, but then they're going to be naming everybody else as a nationality. And they'll be putting it out there, the Chinese and the Asians and the whoever and the Indians and everybody has their own community. Where's ours and all this? Well, they have their own because they got nationality. We don't have our own because we want to be Negro, black, colored still. Even though this is 100 years plus after Noble Drew Ali, and still playing games as if we don't know what's going on. All these things are signs to us of what's going on, right? But we know that it's the time right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Do it still sound crazy?
Yeah, it's there. I think it's something on my end, because I know this phone's been tripping for a little bit. I think they're about to have its malfunction, so I have to go get an upgrade phone or some shit. But we'll see where it goes. But yeah, yeah. Let me. But yeah, you take the floor. Let me try to see if I could punch out and get right back in on this thing. That's the best we could do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go tap back in. Everybody's complaining about the knocking noise on the thing, on the YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So carry on. I'm gonna get back in. Islam.
All right, thanks. No problem. That's what.
Talk Radio. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
Many ways to so-called, and I mean
You are now in the host queue.
protest. I seen an interview with Sister Lunel, and she was explaining the comedian sister, like she doesn't march, she protests. And I was thinking, like, it made me think, like, okay, well, there is a lot of different ways to protest. There's only a couple of ways you're going to march. Either you're going to march peacefully or you're getting in battle formations for war. And I feel like, when I was looking at this, all of the protests that started going on with right after George Floyd and everything, I'm looking at how there was thousands of people crossing the bridge at the same time. And I'm like, this look like battle formations, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even look, and it's not like they were threatening. It just looked like that, because there's thousands of people. Hold up, my fault. Let me get these controls back, right? In this digital age, I think Cool Joe is back. All right, hold up. Yo, peace, Noble, you there?
Peace, Mark. Yeah, we're doing better now.
Okay, there. All right, true. Yeah, I was just saying while you was rebooting, is that what we spoke about briefly about the difference Lunel was talking about, or what she mentioned about how she doesn't march, she protests. And that there's a lot of different ways to protest. Like, you don't have to march to actually protest. Writing a writ is protesting. Then you have people who will go to the city hall and stay right there all day. Camp out, have burgers on the grill.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And this was the difference. So she was saying like she's not with the marching, but she's down for a protest. And like comedians say the realest things, which is what makes it funny, to me. But I know it's not a game. But I'm just saying, all of that being said, to say that in this present day, within the past couple of hours, past 24 hours or whatnot, the fact that the NBA players decided to protest through an action, like their protest wasn't necessarily through marching. And I just wanted to just kind of like highlight the distinction between that. I'm not saying that they're right, they're wrong, they're smart, they're stupid. I believe that, or let me say I know that it's something to be learned from everybody in a sense, because like, these people deal with multiple $1 million contracts, so they know about contract law in a sense and certain things. And this is funny. I don't know if we spoke about this, but I was speaking with my mother a couple of weeks ago, and we was talking about God. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, people have the right to believe in God, or if God is real or not. But one thing that's a fact is God is real in law. Like whether you believe it or not, in law, God is a real thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a real thought, it's a real idea. And anybody that knows contract law would know that based off of the fact that in all major contracts, it always has that exemption clause about acts of God. You know what I mean? Which would exempt somebody from performance. So an act of God could be anything from, a tree falling to a building being destroyed by the elements, fire, air, hurricane, which would be earth, water, whatever. You know what I'm saying? These are things that are considered acts of God. So in law, God is real, whether we believe it or not. Like we give, oh no, I just want this money and all of it. Okay, well, the paper note says in God we trust. These things have real aspects in law. So I'm just saying, sometimes we got to look at the distinguishment between how we feel about things and how they actually apply in law. You know what I mean? Whether we believe it or not, whether we want to believe it or not, these things are real when it comes down to civics. And this comes right back to status in a sense, because you remember, this is a divine and national movement, and there's very, very broad aspects that go with the First Amendment as far as religious freedom is concerned. You know what I mean? So your God, your thoughts, your subconscious, however you want to call it, just remember it's a great God of the universe that Noble Drew Ali was trying to make reference to. Not trying, he did make reference to, that can cause mass destruction, whether you believe it or not. Because even in these days, there's people, a matter of fact, let's look at the Gulf Coast right now. A hurricane just happened down there. There's a lot of people who won't believe that. Hurricane Laura. They won't believe that a hurricane just hit the Gulf Coast. You know what they'll say? Heart did it. Like, there's no credit to God in none of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like it has become a myth. Like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? So, there's real acts of God going on, if you will, in law that's recognized in law. And like I said, that's happening whether we believe it or not. So certain things are real in law, and then there's other things that, whether you believe it or not, it's still real in law. And they might not even be real what you believe. You got to have knowledge. So I was saying that about the clauses in contracts, going back to these $1 million contracted employees that play for the NBA. They could mention aspects of contracts we never even heard of. You know what I mean? Just because they feel like that's how they get their bread and butter. Like it's off of contracts. It's not like we're hiring you for this set salary every hour. Like no, they get paid for performance by the millions. You know what I mean? So with them protesting and all of that, you know, because a man was murdered, and he was not murdered. There was an attempted murder on his life. What's the science with this? We spoke about this a couple of months ago when they shot at the brother at the Wendy's. You know, and I was saying I think the most cowardly thing you could do is shoot a man in his back. You know what I mean? But what's the science of the 7, man? They shot this brother 7 times in his back, and he's right now paralyzed, I believe, from the waist down. They didn't kill him, but that is attempt murder. But when it comes to attempt murder, it's like this. It's a clear example of why in law intention is everything. Because like people can attempt to murder somebody and do 25 years to life just like they murder somebody. You know what I mean? Because it's the intention behind it. So, you know, like when your intentions are off and you're trying to do things, like don't be surprised if it backfires and bites you, because intention is everything in law. You know, and it's clear lessons to be learned from what's happening right now. So I don't know. I mean, I would say as far as the NBA players, it looked like they pump faking. If they would have stuck to it and just stayed through with protesting and not performing, because remind you, all of this goes back to the Europeans being entertained since the days of so-called enslaving people. You know what I mean? Like since they was enslaving people, they showed you this in Django. They get off on seeing Moors compete against each other. Yeah. Like it's entertaining for them. They love that shit. So, you know, they'll pay millions to invest into it. I gotta tell you, you're telling me one NBA player, it's over 100, 200 people in the NBA. You telling me one person is getting over 100 million? I'm not mad. I'm just saying, just one person could be getting paid 100 million notes for like 5, 6, 7 years. Like, there's high interest in that. So for them to withdraw their energy to be like, you know what? And even though they're not doing it long term, it appears to be pump fake. Like I said. You know, I think that is something to be said with what they might know or what they might not know as far as protesting but not marching. You know what I mean? And withdrawing the energy from that platform to be like, hold on, we got to bring attention to this. Because like I seen you posted, you know, Dwight Howard was saying, look, even if we restart this season, it's going to be a distraction for people. You got people who hundreds of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people who will come to one stadium if it was regular like how we know in the years before. They'll come to one stadium, you know, and pack the building with tens of thousands of people. So there's high influence in that industry. So I think what they're trying to do is the best they probably can do. I don't know what their contractual obligations are, but it seems to have caught some people's attention. Will it make change? I don't really think it's going to make that big of a difference.
They ain't doing nothing.
They're not standing on it.
Not doing nothing.
They're not standing on it. You're not playing 2 games over 48 hours. That just look like y'all wanted to leave anyway. Like, that's just a break. You know what I mean? Like, they don't seem like a long-standing statement.
It goes back to that.
I'm not discrediting these brothers.
Oh, go ahead,
but it just like it's not thorough enough. Go ahead, Moore. My fault.
No, just from with regard to the motive. You know what I mean? There has to be some type of ulterior motive for them to not do it. You know, like why even have the league if it's that serious? But it goes back to what you're saying, that there's some type of contractual obligation they have that they have to go out there, and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Regardless of what they do, you might take, you know, a 2 games off, but if these people start talking about, well, we're gonna start fining you the more days that you don't play, you know, you'll really see how real it is. But it's not even getting to that stage, because if they're gonna be going back to play, then um, there's obviously um, there's obviously a master servant relationship going on with regard to that is not being considered. Because if you consider that, you realize that this stuff is wrestling, and you know, don't give it too much of your time and your energy, if any. You know, it's like when it's like there was a thing out here, year of the gun. So because of year of the gun, we're gonna go around and we're gonna, you know, put up ball courts everywhere because we want people to go play. And all these youths are interested is gym ball. They don't play ball outside like that out here. You know, there's some spots where you go where they'll be playing outside, but back in the day, you couldn't find a court without people on it. You know, the outdoor court was where it was at, not the gym court. The gym court was for games or whatever. Other than that, you know what I mean? Going to the gym to play was a luxury back in the day. You're gonna go scrape your elbow and stuff on the pavement. You know, but if the position is you know, they're going back, then it should make our people be aware that that venue is not really in their favor. I don't care what they have on their jersey. You know, it's not. It's a marked deck. It's a, you know, it's a rigged game, because there's no way that you're going back if they say come play. If the point is we're not doing this because, you know, our people are getting murdered, well, damn, you should have been not playing. You should have been not playing, because it ain't just yesterday they murdered somebody. You know what I mean? So it goes back to that thing. What's really going on here? And the only thing that makes sense is everything. And I mean everything. Everything is a distraction for Negroes not to know about their birthrights. Because I don't know what else I don't know what else there is to know right now. And anything that anybody's talking about you know, viruses and dark this and secret that and what are they gonna do and all that, like what are you gonna do? What place has been under occupation forever. This is not just some new stuff that we're finding out that they murder our people. They got book 100 years of lynchings. We're just talking about article upon article upon article upon article upon article and Negroes they killed. Articles for days. 100 years of lynchings. You think they just murdered some people? Guy yesterday shot a guy or choked somebody out. That, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this to our people. Nah, you people can't be that naive and out of it. That there's no way that our people are out of it like that. If our people are out of it like that, then, you know, Moor's batting down, because it's about, you know, handful saved and fingers left over right now. Nobody else, because everybody's a zombie if that's the case. If it's not absolutely positively obvious that, you know, even when you look at not even just ball, baseball and is hockey still going on? Are the hockey guys striking? Isn't there hockey going on right now too? So it's like, what is this about? You know what I mean? This can't be about anything. This can't be about anything for rights and all that. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing makes sense.
I mean, like, if they would have stayed to it, like, they was like, all right, look, it's over. We're not doing this no more. I think that would have been a stronger statement. Like, but to say, okay, we're not going to play tonight and tomorrow night, but we'll be back Friday.
Friday,
like
man, no.
Yeah, Friday night, Saturday morning, like,
no.
It really was. It kind of did what it was supposed to do as far as bringing attention to it. But I will hope that people realize, like, that is not going to be the salvation. You know what I mean? Like, that is not going to change the systemic oppression that people call systemic racism. But I want to say this real quick, bro, because I know we got some stuff to get into tonight, right? And in no sense am I trying to cut your wisdom.
Oh, no worries, Mark.
I wanted to say something when you mentioned the outdoor basketball courts. I just wanted to you took me back to this whole situation because since this COVID thing hit, I was staying to myself as much as possible. But my cousin called me and we stayed about 35 minutes away from each other. And he was like, yo, I'm gonna be out your way today. They having a basketball tournament out your way. It's gonna be one-on-ones. I'm trying to go out there. What's up? You trying to go? I'm like, now the only reason I went, this is kind of like how I broke my first time breaking the quarantine, not because they said so, because I didn't know what was going on. And I'm like, I want to be the example or the foolish one to find out the hard way. But, you know, when it comes to family, I make exceptions. So I knew he had a little bit of beef out here, not out here precisely, but it was going to be people from all over the region there. So I'm like, all right, I don't know what he into, but, you know, I refused to hear about, yo, son, Top Dog, and he was fighting out here, and I wasn't there. So when he asked me, I'm like, I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I gotta go. So I went with him, and that was my first time breaking quarantine at an outdoor basketball tournament, one-on-ones. Right? They was playing one-on-ones, and I seen a brother from the neighborhood I grew up in. He was balling, and it's funny, he was going in like he dusted dude. I think they was playing up to like 11 or 12, 1 point per bucket. It doesn't even matter where you shoot it from. You get 1 point per bucket. So he dusted dude. So I'm like, yo, I know this is such and such little brother, but I'm gonna go ask him after they ball. So after he was done balling, I went up and asked him. He like, yeah. So then after that, I go to the stand and get something to eat, and he there, and he like, yo, why we gotta come way out here? Because we like 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes from the hometown. He like, yo, why we gotta come out here to ball out? You know what I'm saying? Like, we should be able to do this on our own home courts. So I'm out here where he talking about, though, like, you know, it ain't really that far. So I told him, I said, yo, you might need to look at it a different way because we the original people. So really, all of this is all of ours. You're not outside of home. Right. Just a little bit in your backyard. You know what I'm saying? And him and his man thought about it. He was like, yo, that's true. You know what I mean? That is true. Like, so that was like, for me, I was even able to just go out and teach one person, even if it was just one brother, one sister, it doesn't matter. I felt like going there, making sure I was looking out for cuz, and being able to teach somebody from my old neighborhood, or not even teach them, but just give them food for thought to elevate their thinking and see the light bulb come on. You know what I mean? Because this brother was only 40 minutes away from home at most and thought he was somewhere distant. You know what I mean? And I'm like, nah, bro, like, All of this is all of ours. You know, so I see all of this as like, you know, real chances to connect with the people when we congregate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Peaceably congregate. You know, and yeah, of course, it's basketball 1-on-1. So brothers was about to fight, but it didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Because the whole crowd was upset. We was trying to do or be a part or witness something positive, something great. You know what I mean? In the midst of all of this. So there's mad people out there, which was kind of like risky. You know, I still have my mask on deck and everything. But, you know, I just thought about that when you said the outdoor courts is where it's at. This is where we get to connect with people because, you know, wherever a lot of sisters at, there's going to be some brothers there if able, you know what I mean? And likewise, wherever there's a lot of brothers, they playing ball, sisters is coming out. You know what I'm saying? And we seen that. Of course, at first it was more brothers than sisters because we're talking about basketball tournament, and it was interesting because brothers was really out there putting the bread down because they was trying to feed their family. They're like, yo, please let me play somebody. You know what I mean? Like, this is in the midst of the COVID pandemic. You know, brothers and sisters are losing jobs. Jobs is talking about social distance, don't come into work. And you have brothers relying on their ability to play basketball. Yeah. Like, yo, I'm really trying to rip somebody so I could feed my son. Brothers is out there holding their children. You know what I mean? Talking about, look, I'm trying to feed the family, bro. So I see it from a realer perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things is where people really get down, you know what I mean? And even though it might have been small numbers, it wasn't no NBA numbers on any game, 1-on-1, no. But it was just interesting to observe that, you know what I mean? Like, brothers was really out there balling, putting the money up, so-called money up, and had every intention to feed their youth off of beating whoever. Like, so, my fault, I didn't mean to go way out there, but when you said the outdoor courts is where it's at, I totally respect that, bro. I've seen it myself, you know what I mean? Yeah. To be able to see, the coexistence and the ability to, you know, uplift somebody's mentality or whatever in real life, not no internet comment or none of that. It's just out there. It is what it is.
And then I also wanted to take put out there a lesson that you just dropped too, with regard to dealing with people that you plant your seed and you get out the way. You don't need to sit there trying to convince them of whatever. You know, you don't need to make it a build and all that type of stuff. Drop your seed, get out the way. Right? You know, that hit me when you said that, when you just put, you got to look at this a different way, and left it at that. Ain't no building about anything. You hold that, take that with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's what it is, especially with Moors. Because Moors, we got this thing where we know stuff, so we want to espouse everything we know. But if you're putting that energy out and not getting it back, then that's vampirism on yourself. Because you're not getting that back, what you put out. The whole point of putting it out is to get it back. You're not going to put it out knowing that there's not going to be the law of compensation on some level. You know? But the real is, you know, looking at it from the perspective that they're going to save themselves. You're just putting the seed. They're going to do the watering, which is the getting the knowledge that's going to make that seed do something. You know, like somebody had linked me in the week, and they were talking about something. Something happened in the meeting on Sunday, that Wednesday they were still thinking about it or whatever. You know what I mean? They were still in it. Like, I can't remember what it was, but they were still in the mode of dissecting this thing that hit them on the session. You know what I mean? 4 days still on something, right? Relative to them, you know, actually figuring something out for themselves. You know what I mean? Not some follower thing or whatever, but putting in some research to know, you know. And it was all from just one seed. Like, it wasn't even something that, it was just something that was floating around the room that they picked up on. And it had an impact on them that you wouldn't know that would have the impact on them. You know what I mean? It's only because they called and said, hey, this thing had an impact on me, is why we know. You know what I mean? And just to show that it could happen anyway. You don't know how they're gonna wake up. You don't know how it's gonna sink in to them. You know what I mean? It's gonna sink into them on some type of level that you're not even expecting it to sink into them on.
Hey, yo, I bear witness to that fact, bro. I bear witness to that fact. And what you was just saying, that just came back to me about 6 days ago. Okay, so where I'm at, the venue we had before this COVID thing, right? It was a brother that was working in a barbershop. He worked in an all Borinquin/Dominican barbershop, if you will. I know Dominican isn't a proper appellation, but it was, let me say it like this. This brother was heavily melanated. He worked in a barbershop with all Spanish-speaking people, right? Because they gave him a chance, you know what I mean? So this is how the universe works, bro. One day my mom lost her phone, right? He picked it up because he was working a couple doors down. He picked it up, and then he calls my mom. He's like, I don't know, but I found this phone, and she was like, where you at? She's like, yeah, okay, walk that over to that door, knock on the door, knock so many times, trust me, they're going to answer. So he follows her instructions and gives my mom her phone back. So my mom is like, I don't know how to bless this brother in a sense, except for not bless, excuse me, y'all, because I know y'all going to take that like bloodshed. I get it. She's like, I don't know how to return the favor to him, but except for give him some books. Yeah. She was like, I want you to give him these books. You know what I'm saying? So I gave him the books. You know what I mean? Because I see like I'm not trying to say he can't work anywhere, but he seemed to be out of place because he was working in the all Borinquin speaking barbershop. Yeah. So I gave him the books. This was like last year, bro. This was like last year. And I seen him maybe about January, February, before COVID hit. I got a shape up from him and everything. He was working in the new barbershop. I'm like, all right, let me support the brother. So I ain't talked to this brother in like 5 months, bro. He called me last week. Like, yo, okay, so is more a religion or is it a race of people? This was his question through text, bro. Yeah. Real talk. This is what, going back to what you say as far as dropping the seed and keeping it moving. Yeah. It might not even be next week. It might be 5 months, 6 months, a year later. And what you impart to people, it comes back to them. Yeah. So he hit me up like, yo, so is more a race or is it a religion? I'm like, you kind of somewhat right. It's not necessarily a religion and it's not necessarily a race because there's only one race, which is the human race. But to answer your inquiry, you know, more is a nationality. And he hit me back like, oh, I get what you're saying. So he was like, yeah, I've been studying, you know, he was studying into the Hebrews and looking into the 12 tribes. So he hit me with the picture about, he asked me about the Israelites versus the Hebrew Israelites in the 12 tribes. And I'm like, well, you got to understand that the 12 tribes, really the 12 tribes is the 12 signs of the zodiac. So any of the 12 tribes is really based off your birthday, because these are all astrological constellations, it's an astrology story. So he's like, oh, wow, like, I really get it. You know what I'm saying? I get that, because, so we building and we just building on more information. 5-6 months later, 5.5, 6 months later, you know what I'm talking about? Since the last time I seen him, and it's starting to take root, So, like, to your point, just drop the seed and keep it moving. This is evidence to me. Like, it just came. Your brother just contacted me last week.
Yeah.
It might have been like last Friday or something like that. You know what I mean? Last Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. But it wasn't that long ago. So I'm like, yo, that's the works of good intentions and dropping seeds and keeping it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't never try to beat the more over his head.
Yeah.
About, you're not this, you're not that, this is who you are, and just drop the seed and keep it moving. And then it's taking root. So he got some literature, he got some Moorish literature. He thought he was going in the path of, trying to find out his 12 tribes, because you know how the brothers do in the Hebrew movement.
Yeah.
They'll be like, well, the 12 tribes, and they'll start talking about Puerto Ricans and Mexicans and Native Indians and all these misnomers. So for me to have a chance to clear it up with that brother was great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was really a great thing. Yeah, bro. So I bear witness to what you was just saying about that. That's a fact. But I feel like no matter what school of thought, to this day, to me, there's nothing been realer and checked out more than what Noble Drew Ali said on a divine level and on a national level or lawful level.
Nothing.
I don't know if
especially lawful.
At all.
Especially lawful. You know what I mean? Because that's what's always missing in all the schools of thought. They'll cover all the bases, but once it comes to law, they'll go hire a lawyer opposed to handle their affairs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's one thing that really stood out with regard to what Noble Drew Ali was presenting opposed to everybody else. You know what I mean? He's giving you law reference points. You know what I mean? Like, it's a interesting thing to hear or read that Noble Drew Ali said something and then it's in a law dictionary or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he would have had to have been studying this. And why is it that everybody else isn't studying it? Is it because they don't have a nationality, so they can't even see it? You know what I mean? On that level,
Right. No.
Like, is it just that they can't really see it because they don't have a nationality, so they're already blinded. They're seeing blurry without the nationality. Right? When like, for example, somebody said in the chat that, told to get a lawyer by the Grand Sheik. Well, the Grand Sheik's supposed to be your lawyer. If it's like that, you're not gonna go hire some foreigner or some Asiatic who has a bar card. Unless you're in that jurisdiction. But we're just know that we're at an amazing place because we know about Noble Drew Ali and what he brought for the Moors, for the ones who are not Negro, black, colored, and know that they're Moors. The ones who know that, the ones who fact checked everything to realize that, yeah, everything that he presented is actually right and exact, actually. Like everything he presented is actually right and exact. Like there's no discrepancy, there's no dispute of what he presented once you check for yourself. The angle that he was going on, from divine and national to uplifting fallen humanity to saying that we're not Negro, black, colored, that we're Moors, to making sure we have a constitution, making sure we have a flag, national headwears and all that. Man was a genius. You know what I mean? He figured it out.
That's a fact.
He figured it out. And it's just to implement that in this new electrifying age.
That's a fact. And I wanted to say this in conjunction with what you said. Like you said, the Sikh is supposed to be the so-called lawyer or whatnot. But this is because they're put in place according to Noble Drew Ali, not me, not nobody else. You know, they're put in place. They're supposed to make law. The Sikh is supposed to be making laws. So, like, I know these dudes be a fraud from the jump when they talk about, oh, yeah, we got to get this legislation, that legislation. I expect that from people who think they Negro, black, and colored. But for these people who are dissing and have this Moors every day, Taj, everybody, like, oh, there's some renegades when in sovereignty is some foreign concept, when this is what Noble Drew Ali taught. That's the essence, the spirit, and the soul of what he was teaching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's telling you you can make laws, or you ought to be making law, because first of all, if we got to break it down for these Moors who believe that they're Indian and indigenous and all of this, okay, a sheik and a chief are synonymous. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So your chief or your sheik or whatever is supposed to really be, you know, sovereign on an indigenous level, not a sovereign citizen, but exercise that authority.
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that they're talking crazy like sovereignty is something foreign to Noble Drew Ali when he mentioned this right in chapter 29 of the Circle 7, Holy Quran? And y'all can say, oh, he plagiarized. It doesn't matter. This was what this man's message was, or what he was trying to get you to be enlightened on. Like, I reference books all the time because I know what a reference could do. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be like, look, you need to read this book. I swear by this book. But when this man took his time out to make sure you had a copy of it, even if that's what you want to say, you know, if that's what he did, it doesn't even matter. He was given the ancient wisdom of his days and time. And you know, I'm just saying that to say that we know that's not the case. Those was keys that was released from our ancestors from Hindustan, so-called India, well, when the time was appointed. Mm-hmm. So even if you want to say, well, this book first or that book first, it was in all of those books before that. And that was the spiritual technology people needed for themselves during those times. You know what I mean? Like, there was no Google. You had to have it stored in the brain. So, like, the teachings and the influence and all of this, in his days and times, you got to give credit no matter what you say, because he told you, you know, these were keys that was released at the proper time. Why people keep missing that? Mm-hmm. he wasn't trying to bite nothing. He told you this is where it came from. Like, he said it. You know, it's right there in the text. So I'm just saying that to say that, you know, let's not discredit this man's message and what he was talking about, you know, because it's very serious. I don't want to say I get mad, but it's disappointing to see a lot of these brothers, so-called brothers, you know, taking this position of self-righteousness because they feel as though they're part of a organization, and because they're part of that organization, they got it right, and that's not the truth, bro. Like, everybody who go to church don't understand the lessons of Jesus or Yahshua the same way. Like, because you got people outside of the church who understand more about the lessons of Yahshua, or what they call Jesus, more than people in the church, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got people who left the church because they understood this is not the message of Yahshua, right? So that was the prophet in those times who was being highlighted. So you got today people who feel like because they still attend, and this is not knocking the Moor Science Temple of America, some of them, not all, because you're doing what you do, bro, and acknowledgement to that.
Islam.
But what I'm saying is, you got these people who don't understand the lessons, and they're still acting like because I go to this building every Sunday, I'm more holier than thou. And that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
So we can analyze the lessons of Noble Drew Ali and still get further in life, just like people could analyze the lessons of Yahshua and get further in life. Those lessons to uplift somebody. Somebody can never attend a Buddhist temple but read about the lessons of Buddha, and it brings them to a higher degree of enlightenment in life. You know what I mean? Like, this is how it goes. So, if we never looked at the Moorish American movement, the Moors, or anything like that from a divine perspective, like, people still will take the best parts of what they feel like they can apply on this national level. And the two aren't to be separated because they go hand in hand.
Right.
But I'm saying that to say, and I believe you got that definition available to be put on the screen. But
what
I'm saying is, when this man,
when you're ready, it's there. It's there. When you're ready, it's there.
What I'm saying, this man taught us that we are not Negro, black, or colored people. Now, he founded his ministry in 1913, if you will. Old Canaanland Temple, which later, was acknowledged as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which later was acknowledged as the Moorish Science Temple of America, But all of this is born from the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Because I don't know anybody who's going to set up a ministry without feeling the divinity of it first. So the divine is first before he instituted the ministry, right? It was a divine movement. It was a divine international movement that motivated this man to do that. It had to be. Because he wouldn't have came in, and he was open to multiple schools of thought. You can't tell me Noble Drew Ali was saying this is the only way to think. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, he wouldn't have said such a broad statement as, we honor all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Confucius, Muhammad, and Buddha. Like, if he could acknowledge honoring all of those schools of thought, which are basically the same thing, just a different way.
Yeah.
You can't tell me he felt like you had to believe this one thing to learn about your nationality and birthright. Like I said, some people see God different. Some people don't believe in God. Then some people know God is real in law, though. You know what I mean? And having different understandings, understandings, and overstandings, he knew that people was in different mentalities, and was open to all of that. You know what I mean? And he was open to it all because why give acknowledgement to these people if you didn't honor them? I don't, you know what I mean? Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
You're all dealing with your spirit, man, and ways of living. So I would say, even if you don't look at Noble Ali from that perspective, one of the things we all should be interested in is, why did this man, melanated, copper complexion, you know what I mean, fez wearing, turban wearing, sash wearing, everything, all of the regal regalia, why, or royal regalia, why would he say something like, we're not Negro, black, in color? Like, why would he say that? Like, was it because he just felt like he was different than people? Like, or did he really mean what he said? You know what I mean? Was there some more substance to what and why he actually said what he said?
Mm-hmm.
Because in these days and times, I'm still asking myself, like, you know, all due respect, part of my language, but I'm like, how is these niggas being considered so smart when they not even getting the degree that they're not black? Like, I could understand if they brown. Like, these people's skin is brown. You know what I mean? Copper complexion. You know what I mean? How is these people considered so smart when they can't even distinguish that? Like, there's literally children who could point out the difference between black and brown. So you got all of these people who's supposed to be smart, but can't even justify, clarify, or qualify, you know, how they're saying they're black. And it's not that I don't love my people. I just understand there's mental damage. Because, like, I literally got nieces, nephews, younger cousins who can point out the difference between black and brown. And I'm not trying to play no color game. I'm not trying to play semantics. But I'm looking at this like, I respect it, but this is still showing a childish mentality.
Yeah.
From that perspective of, you know, you're okay, like, I understand supporting lives, you know, and saying lives matter. But if we all brown skinned, like, how is it that we're coming under the color code of black? You know what I mean? Like, why, if you're saying that based off of a color code, why isn't it brown? Like, y'all so smart. Why isn't it brown? Right? Because none of us are technically black. So you're saying I gotta be some shit that I'm not on the surface. Appearance. Apparently, I'm not that. You know what I mean? Apparently, I'm not that. But I'm supposed to say that I'm that. Like whether you want to say, well, we're not Moors, we're black, and all of that. Like, okay, I could connect on Moor. Let's even leave Moor out of the argument. How we coming to the conclusion that we are black people? You know what I mean? When our skin is brown, if it's based off of that, something is completely wrong with that. And then if you're saying black has multiple shades, you're even more crazy, literally in the eyes of the law. Mm-hmm. Like, so you see this agenda being promoted heavy, even back to the NBA. They got it all written on the courts and it's on the back of people's jerseys and all of this. And I'm like, these are supposed to be the smart people. Allegedly. But we can't decipher this. We couldn't decipher this. Like, it gotta be something deeper than that to come to the conclusion we're not black. Now, I get the fact that there is heavily melanated people across this planet, like, more so than us, you know what I mean? But, you know, I'm laughing at some of the comments said. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, no color of law on anyone's shirt when that's the first degree that you're not black. So, like, you know, I'm just trying to figure, like, how's all these people considered smart, wise, right, and exact? You know what I mean? Like, is this, like, if we was to look at it from outside of ourselves, right, and I'm not trying to hold us to anybody else's standards. I'm just saying, based off of what we know, I know even if we got dropouts who dropped out in high school, we all learned the Crayola box, man. Like, and it's just not adding up. You know, black and brown It's two totally different things. And I think that the definition of American, referencing any of the various copper complexion natives, the definition of Moor, referencing anybody with brown skin of Moorish origin or with skin brown like that of a Moor, all of this should be absolute common sense to conclude, you know, who we are. Facts indeed. So I don't want to bash my people because obviously no matter how much money we get or have, there's still some mental issues going on. And I'm not trying to sit here and bash anybody, but this is real facts, believe it or not. So I look at what Noble Drew Ali said, and I don't know, it's just adding up on so many levels of law. I don't know if you want to add on to that, but if you want to get into that definition of Negro, if you want to put that on as this is running simultaneously.
Yeah, as I'm getting that ready. One thing was that there was a group of Somalian and Eritreans at this spot I used to work at. So one day I'm coming back from lunch and they're playing something, the radio's playing something or whatever like that, and you know what I mean, they're happy, they're dancing and all this. And they make a reference about something being black. I'm like, black? I'm like, how come you said black? You're not, are you black? He's like, no, I'm Somalian, I'm Eritrean or whatever. I'm like, so how come you call me black? And I put my hand next to her hand. I'm like, how come you call me black? Like, oh, because this is where black people are from, right? This is where black people are from. No, I'm not one of those. I'm just like you. Like, I'm not in that category. So it's a real thing. Being the dead status is a real thing. Like, it's a fiction, but somebody making that inanimate thing animate makes that real. And you want to talk about what made you even look this up before we even put this thing up?
Hold on, say that again, bro.
Do you want to put out what even made you look this up?
Yeah. I mean, I could do that. I mean, we could definitely do that.
Yeah, no, because after we read it.
Too.
Yeah, because after we read it, right? Because I'm as I'm pulling it up, I'm just going back in my head what we were reading. I'm like, hold on a second. You know, this is something that's been here, but you know, remember we were talking about content, and you know what I mean? We're always gonna find something to build on or whatever. This one is one of the most crazy ones that I ever read with regard to that. But because of how crazy it is why I want you to say how come you even looked it up. because I never read anything like this in my life. This is insane.
I know. All right, so I came across this because, you know, years ago I was taught, you know, we got to study. I always be studying, bro. I always be studying. And I tell you, one of my favorite songs is by Styles P. It's called Nobody Believes Me. Or My Knife Talks to Me or something like that. Or Story to Tell. I got a story to tell. My knife talked to me, but nobody believes that my knife talked to me. And it's crazy because they talk, I think it was J. Hood, he said, so just open up your book and let your page come to you, right? Open up your book and let your page come to you. Bro, literally, I opened up this book and this page came to me, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's how it happened, bro. Like it wasn't like I just wanted to look this up. Like I literally opened up the book and this page came to me because I study in this book so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like outside of the Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, this is my favorite tangible law dictionary. Like if not, like this, it's always this one and the Henry Campbell Black's Law fourth edition dictionary that is always in my number 1 and 2 spot. Like my top 3 law dictionaries or books is Institutes of American Law, Bouvier's Concise Encyclopedia Law, and Institutes of American Law is by John Bouvier too. So I would have to say overall, John Bouvier and Henry Campbell Black, right, is probably my favorite 2 law writers. You know what I'm saying? And chroniclers. So I opened up the book and this page came to me and it smacked me like a ton of bricks. You know what I mean? Like almost like a Ouija board. I feel like when I be reading, like something be trying to get me to get the picture, and I'm almost like a Ouija glass or something. Like I don't know, it get real spiritual, bro. Like I be finding stuff I don't even really be looking for.
Yeah.
But I still be finding it. Yeah. Because subconsciously I am looking for it, but intentionally it just happens to happen. You know what I mean? But that's why we say study. And yeah, you can read on the internet and all of that. Like I see somebody was talking crazy because they're like, oh yeah, they RB Base sell a Holy Quran book, but you can read it online. Yo, listen, let me tell you, it's nothing like having a tangible book in your hand.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. It's like because you good. Let's just say I was looking for a word. You know what I mean? Like let's just say I was looking for neighborhood. But in the midst of looking for that, I'm flipping through so many pages that on my way to that definition, I'm going to find something that I wasn't technically looking for, but needed to know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between studying literature and studying lip service and studying digitally. Like, this is why it's good to actually have the book. You get to get there, you know what I mean? And you'll find stuff on your way for whatever you're looking for.
Right.
Because if you open up a dictionary of any sort and you say, oh, I'm looking for this word, but you see another word on your way to that word you don't know, you be a fool to not look it up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like to not sit there and read it. Like, I don't know what this word means.
I'm gonna just skip over it. Let me just skip over it.
You know what I mean? Educate yourself. Put some more jewels in the box, you know, or in the brain. So that's how I came across this, bro. A word is bond. Like I don't even remember what I was looking for, but I came across this, and
like was it one of those ones like oh shit, Negroes in here? The hell is this doing in here? Was it expected? Because the reason why I'm stressing this like this is because Drew Ali told us in the 20s that we're not Negro, and having this as more reason as to why we're not Negro is insane right here. Insane. But it's up there if you want to read. It's up there. So you can go ahead.
Yeah. I see it. It was one of those revelations where it was like, oh shit, Noble Drew Ali was right again. You know what I mean? Like, because personally, bro, when I do this study for myself, I have not seen anything Noble Drew Ali said to be false, bro.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, it was just like, oh shit, he was on it again.
Yeah.
Like, again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. You know what I mean? And this isn't from a perspective of, oh, you know, I got a turban and fez on and I come to the MST of A on Sundays and all of that, Fridays or whatever. Like, this was just like, oh shit, like comparing his literature Because remember, we was given a lesson. In order to change the people, you have to change their literature.
Yeah.
So, like, when I was trying to make a change for myself, I felt like I needed to read more. You know what I mean? And then I had the ability to read more because I was introduced to etymology and understanding how to read. So, like, when I was getting into law, translating that over into law, I'm like, okay, I'll look the word up in law dictionaries, and then I'll try to find it in my unabridged dictionary. And then I'll do my ancillary research on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this was one of those moments, right? So I already, when I read this, I had Noble Drew Ali's lessons in mind. It wasn't like I read this without Noble Drew Ali's lessons, because if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to make the distinguishments of what I was reading and how it applies to what Noble Drew Ali was saying, which was so right and exact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would say, you know, Noble Drew Ali is like a GPS in the sense of, you know, telling you we're not Negro, black, and colored. That's like, yo, don't make that left turn right there. It's not your destination.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but when I'm studying, it's kind of like the same concept. So when I see stuff like this, I'm studying with that in mind. Like, I'm not like studying empty-minded. It's like, okay, this is my guide point of study. It may sound crazy, but it resonates with me. And if I can prove this outside of outside of his lessons, and all of this is adding up to what he was saying, then I know he knew what he was talking about.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, bro, that's how it be going for me with study. I'd be like, oh, okay. And I could give 1,000 other examples.
Yeah.
But I know that for the most part in North America, including what they call the United States and Canada, which is all North America, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of English-speaking brothers and sisters, which has correlations to who conquered, right? And then in South America, they speak what they call Spanish, right? Which also has roots to let you know who invaded. You know what I'm saying? So the Spanish Inquisition definitely hit South and Central America and the islands a lot more so. And the northern islands, you know, and landmass, North America, you know, was more so English areas of conquering. Of course, France and things like that. But, so Negro, I say that to say that Negro and black actually mean the same thing. So, just off the top, this is from John Bouvier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law. And the thing that stuck out about this too was that it's from 1914, and Noble Drew Ali got his ministry popping in 1913. So, like, I'm sure he was in tune with the times then. You know what I mean? In those times, a studied man, a seer, a prophet, you know, had to be in tune with what the energy was in those times.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something called diachronic. Maybe we could pull that up a little bit later so people can see how it trickled down. But diachronic linguistics is what I think the problem is today. But let's go back to 1913, 1914. The definition of Negro from out the John Bouvier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law. This is what got me, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because it automatically brought me back to Noble Drew Ali's lesson. But the definition of Negro, which you see on the screen in the bottom left corner, it says a black man descended from the black race of Southern Africa. Of Southern Africa, not just Africa, Southern Africa. So to me, I'm looking at the lessons of Noble Drew Ali, and he's saying we're not Negro, black, and colored. But it's like, okay, if we was to say, well, Morocco is Northwest Africa, okay, then Morocco is Northwest Africa. Let's just go with that. They're still not Negroes. They're still not blacks. Because according to this lawful definition, a black man, a Negro is a black man descended from the black race of Southern Africa. What happened to those of the Nile Valley? You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to those of Northwest Africa, Libya, Tunis, Algiers, those Asiatics? They ain't all from South Africa, so they can't be Negroes. And we know that even on a deeper level, a man cannot be Negro, black, or colored, according to Noble Drew Ali's lessons, right? So if a Negro has to be a descendant from the black race of South Africa, all of our people did not come from South Africa. Most of the people I know, even if they think they came from Africa and they on the Back to Africa story and all of this, a lot of them will tell you, my ancestors came from Northwest Africa, Senegalese, Mauritanian, Algerian, Nigerian, Tunis, and all of this. So it's like, okay, none of that is South Africa, though. So you're not a Negro. Facts. In law, though. In law, you can't be a Negro if you're not from South Africa. And even though we know better than that, you know what I'm saying? We know better than that. Like, we know that even the Moors of South Africa are not Negroes, you know, because the original name of South Africa is Anazia. So we know that this is all artificially constructed as well, but it's clearly something statutory. You know what I mean? So when Noble Drew Ali was saying that we're not Negroes, blacks, or colored people, he was right on so many levels, because back in those times, they was only referring to people who came from so-called South Africa as Negroes, so-called black men, right? But that's why I say Negro is Spanish, black is English, and they both mean the same thing. So even if you say, well, I ain't Negro, I'm black, okay, if you ain't got no ancestry in South Africa, you're not a black man or a Negro. You know what I'm saying? And even if you do, you're still not black or Negro. That's a fact as well.
And then
like, just on the surface.
No, just tying in the black man and the whole thing with Noble Drew Ali's lessons again, that the Negro being a river, there's a black river in South Africa. Right? Just to tie the black to it. The river is not called a black. The river is known as the Black River, just like the Niger River is the Negro River. And people can't descend from there like that. And once again, don't forget, you can go watch the Common Sense Quickie. Brother Sheldon killed the Negro and the black in the Common Sense Quickie as well on Canaanland Moor's YouTube.
Facts. Word. Definitely need to check that out. I recall somebody saying you probably should play that on the airwaves or whatnot.
Yeah.
Tonight. Yeah. But let's get into this definition of Negro a little bit more, because that was just off the rip. Like, you know, you can't even be a Negro if you ain't got no ancestry or descendancy of South Africa. In those times, the true and divine records, as somebody said, you know, according to all true and divine records, man. And again, this is page 2,331 of John Bouvier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law, 1914. This is the same time frame Noble Drew Ali was here.
Same time frame.
So it says, same time frame. It says it has been held not to include a mulatto, right? And that's Felix versus State. It says a Negro is defined by statute. Now check this out. Pay close attention to this, right? A Negro is defined by statute, not even natural law, man. And remind you, Negro and black mean the same thing. One is Spanish, one is English. Negro is the Spanish language, so-called Spanish anyway, and black is English language. Okay? So a Negro is defined by statute in Alabama, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, right? So, as a person of color who is descended from a Negro to the third generation, inclusive though one ancestor in each generation may have been white, right? So, like, different states had different statutory definitions of a Negro because that's how they defined it strictly in Alabama, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, right? But then it goes on to say, in Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Minnesota, Missouri, and South Carolina, where there is as much as 1/8 Negro blood, in Nebraska and Oregon, 1/4. So Oregon, is 1/4. So if a Negro could mean something different in Nebraska and Oregon, you could tell right there off of that it's not a nationality. It is not an identity. It is a legal status. Because it's like saying, well, having marijuana in New Jersey is a Schedule 1 drug, but in California it's legal. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, the thing itself is being defined differently in different places.
Yeah.
Just like a Negro. You know what I mean? Like, so in one place you could be considered 1/8 blood, and in the other places 1/4 blood. The math changes. So it's almost akin to it not being uniform in the sense of a national identity, right? And not to compare people to marijuana or anything like that. I'm just saying, in these days and times, it had a legal status that was inferior. It was descriptive. It wasn't even an identity. It wasn't a national identity. It's not a nationality. So it says, pardon me. It was held, where there is as much as 1/8 Negro blood in Nebraska and Oregon, 1/4, and so apparently in Virginia and Michigan. It was held in Monroe versus Collins, 17 Ohio State, 665, that if white blood predominates, and we know white is a status too, that's my interjection, but let me back out. Okay, it says that if white blood predominates the person, is to be considered white. It was held in Monroe versus Collins that if white blood predominates the person, is to be considered white. Okay? So if one was a slave before 1865, it is presumed that he is a Negro. But this is what it comes to me, bro. Like, even if you go before 1865, we know we're not Negro, black, and colors, but this is one of the key things. Everybody wasn't enslaved. Like, we are not all owed reparations in a sense because we was not all slaves.
Right.
There was so-called free Moors, so-called free blacks, whatever. Everybody wasn't enslaved. That is one of the biggest lies in his story. You know what I mean? Like, all of us was not on shackles and chains and stuff like that. Like, that wasn't everybody. They showed you that in Django as well. You know what I'm saying? So, if one was a slave before 1865, it is presumed that he is a Negro. That's a presumption. And all of us was not slaves before 1865, and we all wasn't brought over here on no damn boat. But this is the craziest part, and I want you to add on after this. It says, if it appears that a person usually associates with Negroes, it is evidence that he is one. So it appears that a person usually associates with Negroes. It is evidence that he is a Negro, just off of association. That's not no nationality. That's not no bloodline. Like, no matter how much I hang out with Italians, I would never be considered an Italian, bro. You know what I'm saying? So this is how vague the word Negro was in this time frame. Because just by hanging with one, you could be considered one. So that means that Eminem, because he did all of these songs with Dr. Dre, right? If Dr. Dre was considered a Negro, Eminem could be considered one too. Just because they hung out together. Just because they was associated together. Which we know this is BS. This is not real. This is color of law, fam.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but it was actual case laws on this. You know what I mean? Hopkins versus Bauer, North Carolina. So if one was a slave before 1865, it is presumed that he is a Negro. And then remember the Negro laws of South Carolina, whereas it was making a distinction between Moors and Negroes, right? But this blew my mind. It appears that a person, if it appears that a person usually associates with Negroes, it is evidence that he is one. That should be enough proof right there. And in the case law again, Hopkins versus Bowers.
You can't need more than that.
And 175. Come on, fam. So you telling me just because a European hangs out with Moors to this day, they can be considered one? That's crazy. That's not nationality. That is legal implications and statuses, bro.
Yeah.
That's not a national identity, man. So how do you feel about that, knowing Prophet Noble Drali's lessons when he was telling us we're not Negro, black, and colored, and then you can see something easy as apparently usually being associated with Negroes is evidence that you are one. Like what? Like I don't even have the words for that, bro.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. That as far as identity goes, it reminds you Negro and black is the same thing.
Yeah.
So if Luka Doncic hangs out with LeBron James, right? Since just bringing it back to basketball, or Max Kellerman being associated with Stephen A. Smith on the air, Max Kellerman could be considered a Negro because he associated with Stephen A. Smith. It makes no sense, bro. It makes absolutely no sense, bro.
But like, no, if you look at it like Negro's quicksand. If the Negro's quicksand, then any person that appears to associate with a Negro is probably a Negro. So from the status side of it, you shouldn't want to be Negro. Negro should be the last thing that you want to be if it's looked at from this perspective. You know, the fact that it's looked at from the perspective of belonging to it or not like that shows that, yeah, they're using it to put people in a certain jurisdiction. Like it's used so they could presume and assume jurisdiction. It's used so that the people who are claiming that fall under the ward of the crown automatically. So if you're hanging out with the ward of the crown, obviously you're a ward. Why would a free man be hanging out with a slave? Right? Going back again to Django with the nigger on the horse and all that. Like, he was on a horse? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you saw a black guy on a horse? That's not something supposed to be happening. You know? Mm-hmm. Because that's also. That's all they knew. Go ahead, Moore.
No, I said that's all they knew from their slave world is you can't ride a horse.
Yeah.
Wasn't because of law. Yeah.
Right. But then also look at that it's also guilty by association. Because the Negro is always going to be guilty. If anybody did it, the Negro did it. The Negro always does it. It's always the Negro's fault. So if it's always this guy's fault and you're hanging out with this guy who is always his fault, you don't think some of that fault's gonna fall on you? Just by your associating with. So look at it from multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
You know, look at it from multiple perspectives. Because remember, this is law. This is not our opinion. This is not what Moors are saying, and then you're gonna come debate Moors. You're not debating Moors about we're not black, which really means we're not Negro. You know, like they should really be saying we're not Negro. They shouldn't even be bringing up black.
Because we got the facts too that was one of the first brands they gave the Aboriginal people of America in early federal documents. It was labeled as black. So, but black and Negro mean the same thing if we look at it from an international perspective. But bro, this is crazy. Like the fact that it's a case law is as if it appears that a person usually associates with Negroes, it is evidence that he is one. God damn, bro. Like, come on, man. Like, that's crazy, bro. That's like saying, oh yeah, I seen you hanging with the blood, so by association you gotta be gang affiliated, right? Like the shit is not a nationality, bro. Negro is not a nationality because you couldn't even be. Come on, bro. You know what I mean? Like, come on, fam. Like, if it appears that a person usually associates with Negroes, it is evidence that he is one. I can't stress that enough. Hopkins versus Bowers, bro. Like, that doesn't have any respect to an identity of a people, bro. There is no respect on that to an identity of a people, bro.
But also that's because that's what the people claim too, following their nigger leaders. That it's cool to be Negro.
Yeah.
It's cool to be black. It's cool to be a slave. It's cool to celebrate some 400 years of somebody abusing you, but you never got reparations ever. But everybody else who got something after you, they got reparations already. Everybody who got any type of mistreatment got taken care of. But our people, nothing. You just keep picketing up and down the place.
That's crazy. And that was the case law, bro. And then it says, if one was a slave before 1865, it is presumed that he is a Negro, bro. Like, what would Ali say? That we was given the names Negro, Black, and Color. Nationality of Moors was taken away from them. In 1774, bro. Or was it 1779? Excuse me, yo, you gotta forgive me.
1779.
1770. Yeah, 79. Okay, so that's before 1865, right? So, talking about you some sort of slave. If you're talking about you some sort of black Negro and you out here for black rights and you was enslaved 400 years, this is why these Europeans, because let's not forget, you know what I mean? This year, with all of those protests that was happening after the George Floyd killing, like, let's not forget, there was a lot more Europeans in the crowd than there was our people out there talking about Black Lives Matter. I mean, like, that is real facts, bro. Like, if you really pay attention, the Europeans had numbers out there. I recall seeing it live on TV when they first burnt down the police station. You had this crowd of young European women out there with signs on some NWA shit talking about fuck the police. Excuse my expression, but that is the fact. That's how it came off on live TV. I was like, oh, this is real talk. Like, if you wasn't watching it live, you would miss it. But they was out there in so-called Minneapolis or whatever, and they was out there like that. I'm like, oh, this is something real different. So I'm saying, because Black and Negro is so big, right? They could be considered more Negro than these Negroes, so-called, bro. You know what I'm saying? In law, bro. Not because I've said so. Like, this is what it says. If it appears that a person usually associates with Negro, it is evidence that he is one. It's not even to bring up the original meaning of Black. That's not even to bring up the original meaning of Negro, because you know Black means pale, right? That's a fact. It's documented before all of us was born. This was a documented fact. You know what I mean? Black means pale. So all this shit is so vague, which is why nationality is definitely the key in all of this. It has to be. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't want anybody to be disrespected. Like, if I'm hanging out with, let's just say, for example, I don't, but let's say I was hanging out with some Italians. You know what I'm saying? If I was hanging out with some Italians, I would feel like they got disrespected if they was considered to be Moors just because they was hanging with them. Like, that would be so much disrespect for all of our nationalities, bro. Like, real talk. That would be so much disrespect. So this is how I know it doesn't apply. Like, it's something very disrespectful to say that if a person usually associates with Negroes, it is evident that he is one. Like, nah, people's nationality don't just change because of who they come in contact with or have to deal with or anything like that, bro. So that's what made this real crazy for me. It's like, damn, you could be a Negro by association. Yep. That's crazy. Social distance, 6 feet away, stay healthy out here. You know what I'm saying?
Don't be associated with, don't be associated with the Negro. Don't be associated with the Negro.
No. I'm talking about, and that's not saying we don't love our people, but we know that we are, and they are not Negroes, Blacks or colored. But shit, it gets crazy. Like, it gets crazy. And we notice based off of showing improvement to ourselves with no neutrality lessons, right? You know? So, but it goes on to say, and this is for all the swirlers out there, you know, swirlies, as they call them. And if it appears that a woman's first husband was a quote-unquote white man, it is evidence tending to prove that she is a white woman. God damn. Y'all talking about patriarch? Look at this shit, man. If a woman got married to a European, she was considered to be what? But back then they were saying white man. You know what I'm saying?
That's
and
crazy.
if it appears that a woman's first husband was a white man, quote unquote, it is evidence tending to prove that she is a white woman. What is that, bro? And the case law there is Bell versus State, 33 Texas, CR.R.16325S.W.769. So I know that status, state is determined by mother, woman, etc. But when they was taking over with the patriarch, And remind you, a lot of sisters got married under threat, duress, and coercion, bro. You know what I'm saying? And not that, yeah, shout out to Navi Poet, snatch their distinction by marriage. Wow. And then we could go into the fact that, you know, white in law also means purity. Purity means God. But in the context that they're speaking in, I do believe this has relative points of view to the European trying to claim to be white, because remember, this is 1914. A lot of people forget it wasn't until the Naturalization Act of 1870 where the Europeans even started commonly being counted as white, based off of the Naturalization Act of 1870. Yeah. So that's why it's talking like before 1865, a Negro was considered to be enslaved and all of this. You know, you got to know who really fit into those parts. And you got to pardon me, but I know that in Sex and Race volume, the Green Book, I think that's volume 2 or 3, it was speaking about how Europeans was counted as Negroes back then too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so it gets really vague with this Negro, this black, this white, this colored thing. Because there was multiple nationalities that was being hit with these brands. Yeah. You know what I mean? Kind of lends back into what Noble Drew Ali was saying about all nations suffer slavery due to the fact they honor not the principles of their mothers and their fathers. Yeah. Right? Because we're supposed to honor them by naming principles. So if the European was out here accepting to be white, that's a dishonor to his mothers and fathers, because they got a nationality. It's like we do. You know, so if that was the case, and legally, lawfully, you can see all of these case laws on the record, then it wouldn't be too far-fetched in that time frame, you know, for all of these different people to be considered the same. Oh, man, it's crazy even trying to explain it. Like, for these brand names to be put on all of these different people. Because, like, again, I can't stress it enough. It says if it appears that a person usually associates with the Negroes, it is evidence that he is one. Like, you don't even have to be a brown-skinned person or a so-called black man or any of that to be considered a Negro. Like, all you got to do is just be associated and you can be considered one. That shit sounds like some gang shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy for me, bro. That's crazy. All of that is the craziest thing I probably ever heard about so-called Negroes, bro.
But it stresses the point to why, you know what I mean, a prophet was sent to us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We weren't going to get out of that by ourselves. All that, we weren't going to get out of that by ourselves. No way. Because one thing, you know, from the beginning, this isn't South Africa. And if it is South Africa,
that's right.
You're not a continent. You're still not a color if you're South African. You're not South African. That's not a country. How is South Africa a country? You know? But it stresses the point of the prophet's message that we're not Negro, black, colored. This is just an extended version of why. You know, like really why we shouldn't. On the level of how people look at the Negro. Everybody knows the Negro is a beast. So why would we claim that we're the beast and then expect some type of good treatment or whatever? And addressing the Negro problem is really, are people giving that up? Which again goes back to black. Forget Negro. You know, the modern day Negro calls himself black.
Exactly. It means the same thing. You go back down, it says a black man or descendant from South Africa. That is some bull, bro. That's some bull. That's some bull. No.
Oh yeah, it's 2 minutes to 11 if you want to make the announcement there.
Oh yeah, damn, that's crazy.
Crazy.
Okay, yeah. Anybody listening?
2 hours? How 2 hours? Where'd 2 hours go?
Hmm?
Where'd 2 hours go?
Yo, that's crazy. Yeah, please pay attention to the call-in number at the bottom of the screen. If you want to call in with a question or anything like that, you have to call in now because you won't be able to after 11 o'clock. So we got an hour left on the Blog Talk radio session, you know, and after that, after 11, you won't be able to call in. If you don't call in, feel free to post your questions in the chat on Canaanland Moor's page. But again, that number is 563-999-3403. If you did not get it by now, you probably won't be calling in. But yeah, fam. So that's crazy. 2 hours flew past like that. We didn't even really get to go all the way in on this shit. But yeah, no, we didn't. But I mean, it's
freaking phone again.
Yeah, because oh yeah. So yeah. But at minimum, bro, it should just go to show that Negro goes in the category of, I would say, so-called gangs and organizations. Like, okay, like you could get a membership anywhere. I could be the member of the library, right? I could be a member of the library, and in the library, I might go there often. You're talking pre-COVID anyway. Just trying to give an example of like, know it, but like, let's just say, or knew it, whatever. But let's just say I go there all the time. Like, just because I go there all the time, this should not determine my identity. Like, I'm not European. Like, if I go to a European library, like, you know, Moore's founded the idea of libraries, right? And anybody can go there. But just because you go there doesn't mean that you're the same nationality as the people who found it. Like, this is how big the word Negro and Black is, man. Like, because they mean the same thing. And I just can't, I don't know. But it's crazy. We got an hour left. And we do have a couple of callers, though.
All right. Ride with them.
Yeah, we could get back into that, I'm sure. Now we probably got to do a part 2. But for now, let's see. Call it 267-229. We live on the air. Peace, man. Winter.
Guess not.
Call it 267-229.
Something's going on there.
All right. Yeah, we move on. It's all good. All right, call us 601-383. You live on the air. Peace, man. You with us? Hey, here's peace and love. Richard Bay calling out the third Japanese.
It's Law and
I
Moor.
just want to say, I want to say something about that. Say something about the NBA, man. I think those guys, man, I commend those NBA players for what they're doing because, you know, I mean, we've been getting shut down, I mean, for a long time now. I'm quite sure we all know this didn't happen. But, you know, today they're doing something, man, that NBA players or NFL players didn't do back in the day. So you may have one out of the whole league, but, you know, these guys, man, they're coming together, you know, and try to They're trying to make a stand and set that example, man. And like I say, man, I just commend them. I think both of y'all are right about it may have something to do with the contract, but we don't know that. But I think y'all are right about what y'all said about the contract. It does have something to do, and they do have obligations because it's their job. And another thing, I was going to say, like Father said, we're not Negro, Black, or color. But we can all. I read the book about Yakub. I mean, we can crush that. I mean, we should be able, but I know it's living in these times and days that it's kind of hard to do. But the terminology troglodyte. I mean, those are nothing but it goes back to the white folks, right? Well, if you can call them that, troglodytes. They're not really white, but they're troglodytes. Right. Yeah. I wouldn't say you right. So I think we should. You hear us reference people as white and black. Like, that's not me making that reference. That's the actual reference. But I'll say it because I know, and I don't ever want anybody to be confused. Like, we personally believe there are white people and then we're black people. I was just reading the record, you know what I mean? Because white and black are legal statuses. They are not identities. They are not identities of people. So, like, when you hear us referencing these old records, like, the reason why they say white and black is because it's correlative with Noble Dwelly was saying, It's like, when you talk about rulers of the land, and you're talking about ruler to Mortus being dead in law, like, we understand that. So, like, when we're reading these old records from the time frame he was in, that is not to say that we believe that when we read white, that references the European, or when we read Negro, because like it says right here, when it comes to terms like that, you can be held one just by association. That's what we're getting at, is the fact that they're not identities. Like, it says, if it appears that a person usually associates with Negroes, it is evidence that he is one. That is the Hopkins versus Bowers. That has to be proved to you. You know what I'm saying? That Negro, which is synonymous with black, these are not identities. It's more so like association. It's more so like corporations, if you will. Because, like, if I was to hang out with a gang, right, I could be considered guilty by association or something like that, right? If I was usually associated with Negroes, it is evidence that he is one, right? So, like I say, if I was usually associated with Bloods, it's evidence that I am one. But that's not true. Like, the fact that the word Negro could even be used like that. Like, I never heard somebody say, if one is usually associated with Italian, it's evidence that he is an Italian. Or if somebody was associated with Irish, it is evidence that he's Irish. Like, you can't say that about any other nationality.
Exactly.
That's the point. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, you could be considered this by association. Is to sum up the lesson. You know what I mean? So, no, they're not white people, right? We're not black people. These are legal statuses. And like Cujo was saying, if I was to hang out with wards, or let's say brothers that was on probation or parole, or not, like, you end up being considered what you associate with or what you're around. And that's just not fair. You know what I'm saying? So I hope you get the point.
Islam.
I just don't want that to be lost. Like, we're just reading records from olden times. I think the brother got cut off. I seen him post that in the chat.
Oh, it is okay.
Yeah. Call it 267-229 live on the air. Please stand with us. Okay. Yeah. So the brother got cut off. We don't have too many people with their hands up. I guess we did well with that. I don't know if the brother in the chat saying I lost connection is the same brother that called. I would assume so.
Yeah, I think it's him. Yeah, he said he's good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. These things. Information on how to use my nationality card. I would just say this: as far as the nationality card goes, it's a civic tool. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell you how to use it because it's for your salvation. You know what I mean? Whatever that may be. You know what Ali said, don't go flashing it. You know what I'm saying? And European. This is a civic, is basically, and I know we here in the updated versions of these times, understanding more how much goes with identity. But it's the same principle. You know what I mean? It's not for you to be out here wearing it on your neck. I see a lot of Moors doing that. I don't knock them, but I'm just saying that, Noble Ali told you this is what not to do. So keep that same principle of jurisprudence in mind and use it for civic purposes. There are Moors who have done many great civic things utilizing their nationality card, for many different things. And I'm not even going to sit here and quote all of them. And I hope I don't want to seem like I'm trying to withhold anything. But the way it's looking out there right now, it's like you almost got to keep everything private because you got Moors who are hating on Moors. So, like, if I say, I use it to buy this house or that building or whatever, you got Moors right now who will try to do the research and say, oh, no, because they didn't have it from the Moor Science Temple of America, they're not real Moors and all of this is bullshit. Negroes, Moors who are mentally Negroes out here are doing more hating than these so-called blacks. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's these niggas with feathers on out here doing the most right now to try to discredit and bring down other Moors with feathers on. This is how shit is right now. So, certain talk like that, like, it ain't even for these niggas no more. And I don't feel sorry about saying it the way I said it. You know what I mean? And thanks for putting that in the what's the name? Yeah, but I just thanks for putting that in the chat, but I just feel like that. Like, I'm not, because I know how. When I say we feathers on, that's not dissing all Moors, but y'all know what and who I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, these people are coming on YouTube with feathers on. You know what I'm saying? And they'll take it as far as trying to call your job. See, like, this shit is crazy out here. Like,
nuts.
No, real talk. Like, this shit is crazy.
Yeah, they go hard.
In these days and times, I'm kind of thankful for the shift because it's like, okay, now we can stay private. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of not having to be for everybody. All right, we ain't for everybody. And a lot of these people are so stuck in the digital wave. It's like, if you ain't doing nothing on there, you don't exist. And that's so sad to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, only Moors that's real and exist out here is those who got something crazy to say on YouTube and Instagram and all of this shit. You know what I'm saying? You get every day in your Instagram post, you get 1,000, not 1,000. Ain't too many niggas rocking with you. niggas like that. But I'm just saying, you get a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, who feel like they could just get a wave and a rep off of tearing down the true and dessert message that was trying to be delivered. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you know, there may be thousands, tens of thousands. We don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of niggas who claim to be so smart but can't distinguish the fact that you're brown opposed to black, let alone being a Moor. So y'all niggas seem crazy anyway. I'm not surprised. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, y'all seem crazy anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Like, y'all could try to diss the truth, you know, like Taj and RB Bay started some sovereign shit. And y'all, that's the lesson Noble Jolly left for y'all. And y'all claim y'all so gung-ho with the More Science Temple of America. How you keep missing the foundation? You know what I'm saying? I don't like these niggas no more, bro.
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's just a fact.
I
you know
hear
my
you.
people, these niggas, you know what I'm saying? I got the lesson. Noble Jolly said, some with turbans and feathers will be trying to put you back in slavery. I get it now. I've been got it, but I see it. It's evident. You got niggas who come on YouTube and make a whole breath of tearing down pre-Moor's ideology, and niggas are clapping applaud like that's the way we supposed to go. We supposed to be slaves and subservient and subjects forever. We're not supposed to think free, according to these people. And they come in the name of Noble Drew Ali.
Oh, they definitely come in the name of Noble Drew Ali. They can't come any other way. You know what I mean? They'll stick out. Yeah, they stick out like a sore thumb if they leave Drew Ali out of it. You know, so they gotta blend in.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like even with us having a venue with this whole COVID shit, I think the beauty in it is okay, smaller crowds is where it's at. Nah. You know what I mean? Well, okay, if y'all saying we ain't for everybody, shit, we ain't for everybody. That's cool. You know what I mean? And not because you said it, it just feel like that's the way it's supposed to be in these days and times anyway.
That's
y'all
where it is.
Stay over there and keep idol worshiping Noble Drew Ali. If we're going to keep
operating, activating. Yeah. It's not going to be some stagnancy going on. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Because that's ultimately the expectation that Moors would yield and just be passive Moors. You got nationality, but you're not activating it. You just have it because you have it. That's what they want. We got to get out of that and start being active. Like, for example, there should be, you know, all these different venues for our people to be able to get this information. Because every Moor has their duty to save somebody or some people or something. If you know about your birthrights, you have an obligation to humanity. Then talk about, you know what I mean, you don't know if you should do it and all this when you're supposed to be going hard for humanity. It's not even supposed to be a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You got to go hard for humanity. But what I'm saying is, we got to also understand and understand that humanity is flawed. So what I'm saying is, you get these people who are so self-righteous that as soon as somebody starts going hard for humanity, they don't even get acknowledged for that effort. They get acknowledged as being a fucked up person who may have done this, that, and the third, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, this is the condition of humanity. So you're trying to uplift a bunch of inconsiderate people, bro. Like, I'm not knocking it yet. We got to go hard for humanity, but we have to have understanding of what that entails. Like, you're not dealing with a perfect, mentally sound people. Like, shit is crazy out here. You got, like, bro, like, that's a big task. People keep looking like that's some small thing. Like, humanity is so diverse. It's not a uniform thing. Like, even though we got bodies that basically function the same, man is mind. And people think all different types of crazy ways, bro. Like, so you gotta understand. In doing that, you're taking on a lot of different energies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not a task that should be done individually. Like, you gotta have help. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this should be crazy out here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, you got some people who look in the mirror and they say they're brown, and then you got other people who look in the mirror and they think they black. You know what I'm saying? Then you got other people who look in the mirror like, I dare a nigga to step on my Jordans today, I'm gonna blow his head off. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. and you know what I mean? And then you got somebody else who look in the mirror like, somebody step on these Jordans, I'm gonna go buy the same pair again the next day. That's how fresh I want mine. Yeah. So when you talk about humanity, you gotta talk about all of that shit, bro. Like, from the materialism to the spiritualism. It's not a uniform thing. So we step out here, there's so many different aspects to humanity. Like, you got so many different types of human beings. You got so many nationalities that is composed within the human race. You know what I'm saying? But this is what I was looking for my mom on this again. I think the one up that the gods of Earth got, or should have gotten, is, in a sense, don't even waste your time with these Europeans, in a sense, because the question is asking, and the intent is asked from, is can the devil be reformed? And the answer is no. So, like, even with trying to uplift all of humanity, like, let me just say this, like, this is all due respect. You gotta have the knowledge to protect yourself out here. But, you know, like, you don't earn your stripes as a Moor, or for being a Moor, simply because you caught a court case. Like, that's not your, like, that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, the shit is going crazy. Like, it's like, you don't have to catch a case to put on or represent for Moors.
Yeah, more,
like,
yeah.
But if you do, you should know some law too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should know studies. All of that shit is important. But these are aspects of civil society. But there's many other aspects. Like, don't knock the Moor who know how to play the saxophone or the air sax or the drum, and they trying to make a living off of that because, you know, they don't want to be arguing about who the fuck they are to some strangers and shit like that. Excuse my expression, but it gets really crazy thinking about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they are able to do that and articulate that very clear if they had to. Like just like the Sundry Free Moors did.
Yeah.
We are not Negroes, man. You know what I'm saying? You can talk all that other stuff you want. We ain't Negroes. And this is what it is. And they ain't just put on for themselves as brothers. They put on for their wives as well. You know what I'm saying? And their wives put on for them. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? It's just so many aspects more could it be. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like the more you try to empower humanity, I feel like there's going to be more haters, right? I'm not knocking it. I just know what it is at this point. I've been around long enough to see it. A lot of these niggas just want a reputation.
They just want the fame. Fame and nobility.
They want to be the man on YouTube, though. That's it. And it was a time where I felt like, yeah, you know, this is the way and all of this shit. But it's like, when you take a break, forget social distancing and 6 feet away. Like, really take a break from social media, social distancing, all of that. you know, you start to see the world for what it is, and you like, a lot of these niggas don't exist if it wasn't for the internet, bro.
Yeah.
Like real shit.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't for that, he wouldn't even be a part of nobody's reality, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, I thought my mom and Taj because it was that before the internet, bro. Sister Queen Vala Horror. You know what I'm saying? Before the internet,
Before the internet.
touching people.
Hakeem Bey, before the internet.
No Hashim B. Bad. No Wuju Ali. Before the internet was making an impact in real life. Like,
big impact too.
Crazy shit. Like, you had to say it to their face. It wasn't no, oh yeah, I know I'm gonna never see this person, so I'm gonna talk crazy about this person. Put it on the internet for everybody to see. Clowns, you know what I'm saying? You know you're never gonna see these people. And if you do, you're gonna get schooled. Yeah, shout out C. Freeman L. All of them. Don't get me going. You know what I'm saying? We can list them all. Y'all know the greats. Y'all know the greats. You know what I'm saying? But imagine somebody saying something crazy like that. You had to, if you really had a problem, you had to bring the ruckus on some real shit. Like, it wasn't no arguing with niggas on Facebook. None of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. All of his debates was in person, bro. Like, was in the flesh. You know what I'm saying? And he might have had a comment of you after that to be like, yeah, this is how I still feel about. But you wasn't just gonna get out here talking crazy and think you can say something on the internet you can't say to my face. But then if you see me in my face, you ain't got all this other stuff to say. Like, this is not real to me. Like,
yeah, there's definitely an element. Crazy. There's definitely an element of not being in the realm. We talk about it with the lessons when we used to go sit at the feet of the masters to go learn. Now you're watching something. It's not reach out and touch master teacher anymore. You know.
Right. And I just want to say this with all due respect, bro. I don't want to cut your wisdom, but I want to acknowledge a comment in the section.
Oh yeah, good.
In the comment section. Yeah, Navi Poet and R. Salim Day. I agree with y'all too. Like, if it wasn't for the internet, there'd be a lot of information we don't have. I'm not blaming the internet. I accept it for what it is. It has just saved many industries. You know what I'm saying? And has opened and enlightened a lot of minds. It's a good thing. But what I'm saying is, all due respect, I just remember you couldn't, like, if you had something crazy to say about somebody, like, you had to say it to their face. That's all I'm saying. I don't knock the internet. Like, the internet is embracing. It comes from the mind of genius, wars, you know what I mean? And yeah, it itself is a very great thing, and it's evolving. But I'm just saying, like, when people get on here and talk, like, all these people talking crazy, like, people talking crazy about impact and whatnot. Okay, they might be atheists, whatever. But I don't believe anybody who say anything crazy to their face. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, I don't. Say something crazy to them. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know. You would have to match that and say something crazy. You know what I'm saying? For anybody, for that matter. You know what I'm saying? So I just be looking at the world kind of different, like, you know, I don't know, bro. Like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm somewhere else with it, but I just feel to the point of what I was saying, bro. Like, when the brother asked what to do with his nationality card, and I was saying why I wouldn't even get into that on the airwaves like this, is because there's so much you could do with it.
Yeah, for
but
real.
if we started talking about that, you'll have Moors who are agents tomorrow, right now. They're listening, taking notes, trying to figure out how to stop a movement of freedom, bro. A movement that is in conjunction with 5 principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Like, and then not just that, they'll come in the name of who we got it from. Noble Drew Ali.
Yeah.
Like, they'll say they're Reverend Noble Drew Ali and have a problem with Moore's exercise. No, like, yo, this is how sick this shit is out here, bro. Like, so that's why I'm saying, like, certain things I think we need to be private, you know what I mean? Because that's what I'm thinking from this whole COVID thing, is that maybe now, because there's crowd restrictions and things like that, we can weed out those who we are meant to be around versus those who we not. You know what I mean? This is not open season for everybody.
Right.
In that sense. And I'm speaking from a perspective of, we have venues, we got all of that. That's not salvation on its own merit, because, like, even if you in the Moor Science Temple of America, that's supposed to be your salvation. By default, they just lost membership. If they out here talking about the citizens of the USA, it means you're supposed to be on good behavior and follow these social distancing rules. So if you had a packed temple when the COVID hit, you know, you had to go to 25% capacity. So you lost membership. Does that mean that they're not Moors no more? They can't come to the temple? Like, literally can't? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm talking about. If we pay attention to what's happening, a lot has just been revealed. So if those Moors knew what their nationality was and didn't go strictly off of being faith-based, then they would know they was Moors, whether they had to alternate, let's say a Moor Science Temple of America could fit 100 people. All right, 25% capacity means 25 people. So you got 75 Moors who can't attend the temple, right? Even if they decided, okay, we're going to rotate every Sunday, right? The other 25 is, you got 4 groups of 25 that can only attend the temple once a month, right? The ones who can't make the meeting, are they not Moors? Or if they just say, you know what, I don't even want to risk catching the virus. You know what I'm saying? I'm not coming at all. Are they not Moors no more? Or it's just they're not in the temple no more? Like, well, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
what are we doing?
Yeah. It's
I'm
true.
sorry, bro. I didn't mean to rant on, bro.
Oh, you're good, boy.
We got
It's
about
all
half
good.
an hour left, bro.
It's
I
all
didn't mean
good.
to go on and on and on like that.
It's all good, yeah.
But I just times you gotta really understand and distinguish it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of stuff ain't for everybody. I mean, it's for everybody, but it's just a thing we can break it down. I mean, everybody's not going to use it the same.
Yeah. Everybody's definitely not going to use it the same. That's facts.
Yeah. Like, they really think, that's why I don't know. I know you a hip hop head, and I know you'll pick Nas over Jay any day. He just came out with the album King's Disease.
Yeah.
And in one of his first 3 tracks, I don't know if you listened to the whole thing yet.
Yeah.
But in one of his first 3 tracks, he was saying, you ain't a king if you always complaining why somebody ain't do something for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And get facts. You know what I'm saying? This is what it is. You gotta be confident. Turn your inner God on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's
turn your nationality on. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's some shit you wouldn't believe Moors did in nationality start. But that ain't for me to tell. You know what I mean? Not on this platform.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. And there's no sense that anything that we're doing. I'm just saying I know that there's snakes watching too. You know what I'm saying? And that is a fact, bro. So, yeah.
It's Stay watching.
But when you look at your nationality card for nothing else, just look at it as a civic tool for your salvation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be doing contracts, getting your lights turned on, whatever it is, it's for your salvation, nobody else. Buying whatever it is. You know what I mean? So,
Straight up.
that's my advice.
Islam.
Yeah. And it is different when you understand your nationality and international law. International law, other national law. This is not, you don't see Negro, black, or color nowhere on that because it's not a nationality. Negro, black, and colored is not a nationality.
Never will be. Never will be.
Nationality and land mass.
Never will.
Nationality and land mass is
Yep.
on your nationality card. You know what I'm saying? So that's putting you there. Because like I said, you know, and I can't stand the fact, bro, that they kind of did this with the word American, like you said. Again, in your case law, if it appears that a person usually associates with Negro, it is evidence that he is one. Hopkins versus Bowers, but what about the word American, though? You know what I'm saying? Just because they associate, they're supposed to be American now because they here.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's some bullshit too.
Yeah.
That's not real either. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not Americans just because they here. Like, we know the definition of America. We know it, whether we accept it or not, or utilize it a certain way or not. We know that the word American, any of the Aboriginals or various copper-colored natives found on the American continent by Europeans, the original application of the name, that is in the unabridged dictionary. So the European ain't hiding nothing like that, the world for real, that's in the book. But, like they say, you want to hide something from the nigga,
put it in the book.
It still runs through the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is why we was taught that if you want to change the people, you gotta change their literature. You know, this is not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, bro. I could go on for another 5 hours, bro. But I don't want to hold you.
Oh, you're straight, boy. You're good. You're good. You're good, yo. No, I said you're straight. It's what's needed. You know what I mean? Because you got to get those ones out when you have when you have the floor and you know what I mean, an opportunity. It's all about letting the perspective out there, you know, because all of it is part of the changing the same stuff that we're talking about, that our people are not these things. And guaranteed, keep playing games like everybody's your friend or whatever. You're gonna be associating with some Negroes and get yourself in some situations. You're not supposed to be around them like that. We're nationals, right? You don't see the Jews around anybody else but Jews. You don't see the Asians eating anybody else's food, but I don't even know if Asians eat. But I know everybody goes to their store, but they don't go to anybody's store for food. You ever see a Asian eating some Italian or something? A real Asian, not the assimilated Asian. No, everybody supports their own. We're the only ones that don't support our own. But you know, how are we gonna support our own if we're calling ourselves something crazy that doesn't have support? Negro black color has no support. That foundation's faulty. You might as well demolition that building and build a whole new one. Negro black color stuff is dead. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Mar.
No, it's funny you say that. I just want to add this on about the times we're in right now. We're talking about demolishing a building. A lot of people, don't understand and overstand how serious these times are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hold up, my fault. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand how serious these times are. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, with a virus spreading through the land like this, there's also another definition in the movie here is about inspection state or something like that. And what it says is, during times of quarantine and things like that, it reminds you this is nothing new, right? Like if a building is considered contaminated, like they could fuck the public health board and all of them, they can have that building knocked down. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's say the coronavirus was a real deadly thing, you know, and you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, if it was what a lot of people thought it was when it first hit. If a building was to be contaminated with a disease to a point of no return, not only can they shut the business down, but they could be like, this is a public health hazard. So let me just knock this down. Like, that's what could happen in times like this. It's not just like there's something going on out here. Like, literally, if a building gets plagued, it could be knocked down. So God forbid, but like, let's say that was the Moor Science Temple of America or something like that. Like, it literally could be knocked down if they deemed it a public hazard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, Moors need to stop playing like that is our be all end all salvation. You understand? We gotta have knowledge to survive out here. That's a fact, bro.
Only way you're gonna survive.
On the floor, bro.
That's the only way you're gonna survive. You know what I mean? Get this information and get it for real. Like we said, we gave some reference points. You got RV Bay, you got Hakeem Bay, you got Moorish Directory, you got Abdullah Bay. There's places where you can go to get right with this information. Not just get this information, but get right with it. And none of it involves buying something or whatever. Just going to these places, putting in some time to knowing the truth about your nationality and birthrights. Because a lot of denying of the prophet too. You know, all these games that people are playing with this whole status thing is really denial of the prophet, and really they're going against Allah. So again, if you associate with Negroes, you might get lightning bolts that weren't yours. So it might be wise to put some distance between you and the Negroes. Like being that this was found at this time about the Negro and what the Negro is and all that, black man and all that. Maybe this is a divine warning with regard to this status. And, you know, the whole thing of trying to save people, trying to save everybody. You better focus on yourself. You better focus on you being grounded. You having your roots in so deep that you're not going to budge out of this. You know, because that Negro stuff is no joke. That stuff would get you buried. Don't take this for, we don't know what we're talking about. The Moor found the thing today to let you know what Negro is. Just so you're clear. Just so you're clear. You know what I mean? Out of dictionary. Not even some deep book by some Asiatic that did some whatever with Negro research. No, just a dictionary. Encyclopedia. That's all. 3 hours. 3 hours talking
I
about
mean?
some stuff from encyclopedia. Right, that's what it's supposed to be.
Say that again, bro.
No, I'm saying
Oh yeah.
that's what it's supposed to be. You know,
Yeah. This is a law encyclopedia at that.
law encyclopedia.
You know what I mean?
So
Like,
I mean, what more you want? But then again, you know, that's the white man stuff and all that. So there they go. You know.
yeah, but they know they're not white. You know what I mean? Because when you look at these law dictionaries, they tell you free white person does not mean Caucasian race. So that's so ignorant, bro. Like, it's crazy. It's so much refinement, bro.
Yeah.
There's so much refinement, you know. And like I was saying, I think that even when it comes to other schools of thought, you know what I'm saying? They ask, can the devil be reformed? Speaking of the European, right? And the answer is no. So like, place your energy into you and your family, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and friends, like, and associates. And hopefully your associates is with the legal reference to what they're calling the Negro. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because when you associate with, they say that's evidence that you're one. You know what I mean? But I never heard them say, well, if you associate with Italians, you're an Italian. None of that, bro. Like, that's what makes this Negro thing so awkward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as a Moorish man, bro, as a Moor, bro, like, my whole life, I never really got the concept of being black. And then I knew because my skin was brown, and then I knew I was a Negro as well because Negro and black mean the same thing, bro. For me personally, I think that the lessons of Noble Dradley is probably the best mental freedom we could find from those errors, bro. Those errors of time, you know?
Yeah.
Because it just checks out with everything I studied, man. Like, it really does. Like, everything I studied, it just makes so much sense. So much more. Because if they're saying you got to be a South African, basically, to be considered a Negro, okay, what about all of those that was on the North Coast of what people think is Africa today? They're not Negroes in law. You know what I'm saying? They're not Negro, black, and color.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like we said in the beginning, it's a great time to be alive, yo. It's a great time to bear witness.
2 more callers.
Oh, 2 callers? All right. You can take that.
Got 2 callers in like 14 minutes. You wanna get into them?
Oh yeah, yo. Yeah. We could try to get them in.
Okay, cool. All right. So please call us 682-360. I believe this is Brother Asim. No, this Brother Amir Nasir Bey.
Islam.
Out of the Texas territory.
Peace more.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to find the section in the Constitution. That's why it took me so long. But I found it. It's Article 1, Section 8. And it was going through the powers that the Congress had. Congress should have to lay and stuff like that. And it was down in one of the clauses. It was saying that the Congress shall have the power to, or they should have the power to regulate the nations. I'm trying to find regulate the laws of the nation, or something to that extent. So my point here it is, to define and punish piracy and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the laws of nations, right? So it's there to protect the laws of the nations, right? So it's not there to protect the laws of colored people or the laws of Negroids or whatever you want to call yourself the next day, but it's there to protect the laws of the nations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Noble Drew Ali understood that when he said enforce the Constitution, that was also enforcing your nationality at the same time, because they must, as being a union, we know what they is and what they do, but they still are obligated to the laws of the nations. So in enforcing the Constitution, that can also enforce your nationality. And then if you look up nationality on Wikipedia, there's some interesting stuff in there too. And I just wanted to put that on. I didn't want to take too much time from the other caller. Just wanted to speak my piece on that. But can't be black either, you know what I'm saying? Because black is not from a nation. Right? What nation does that come with? There's no nation that come with black, right? That was something that was given to us by the European. You know what I'm saying? When he took us off the west coast, off the west coast of what's modern today Africa. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so bro, yeah, but yeah, I only get it. All right, well, that means I take that Williams time. Oh, it's all good, bro. We can build on that a lot more, because it's a lot of crazy things being said about the Constitution out here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people is now saying, yo, I'm like mind blown. They're like, no, the Constitution isn't where it's at. It's the treaty that's where it's at. But I'm like, well, the only thing that secures your protection via the law of the land to the treaty is the Constitution, where it says in there, Article 3, Article 6, I believe, I recall, where it says that all contracts, engagements, and treaties entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be binding against the United States as in the several states. So it's like the only thing that makes them have to recognize the treaty really, really, really is the Constitution, which is the law of the land. Like, you ain't got to argue the Constitution, but you got to argue some of those clauses to even get to the treaty, like in these days and times. And I think we should do another class on that, because I'll be going in on the OVS Institutes of American Law, but there's a book called Institutes of International Law, and in there they go in on the treaties. And I just think that that's something we should really, really be up on. But with that being said, we're going to go to the next caller. I know this is Balani. 111. You already know, brethren. Greetings to my blessed two brethren that's doing it live and direct.
Peace, more.
In the cranium. All right? So how y'all been? I see y'all maintaining. Y'all still around, keeping afloat. I like that, man. I'm glad that you giving the knowledge, like you said, drop the seeds, man, and just keep it moving. Because it's like, in these changing times, and would you Ali, he already put the warning out way ahead of time. So I know y'all see everything that's coming to fruition right before our eyes. So I wanted to just step on that and, see how everything is going on with all of y'all. And I hope all the boys that are listening don't fall short and stay focused. And, correct your cranium, because that's where it's at. all in the mind, within your deeper consciousness, because that's where everything begins. And also respecting nature's law, first and foremost. That'll really, secure everything around you as a true Moor you are.
That's love.
That's a fact, bro. And I see a lot of cats that's out here using them spells, and they can't be using them spells and throwing it out in the ethers. That's what's coming back to them. They're getting a boomerang effect. Right. The silver or tooth, That means they walking dead. You amongst the dead, and then you have the living. I don't think the ones that's in the living is gonna have any issues, because 9 out of 10, they ain't a proper person. They know who's selfish. They know who's selfish. More. Nothing more, nothing less. So simple. But, there's a lot of us that don't, get it. So, the ones that do got it, I hope they keep holding on to it and don't fall over to the other side where they waiting to light you up and stomp you from here to China like they've been doing. Oh, yeah, that's another thing, too. We didn't even get to touch on that picture you had, Cujo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Chinamen stepping on the brothers and sisters back. That's crazy. Oh, what? Yeah, maybe we'll pick up on that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, brother Balanzi, man, thank you for calling in. We got a few minutes left. And I love y'all, man. Appreciate the good work. Dropping the knowledge, you know what I'm saying? Facts, bro. Likewise.
It's Law and Moor.
To you as well.
Appreciate you, Moor. Thanks for calling in.
You already know. Indeed. All right, peace, bro. So, that being said, peace, Cujo. You want to say anything in closing this out?
Just honors to all the Moors worldwide. Honors to all the mothers. And of course, we have to give supreme honors to MHHS for allowing the Sons of Allah platform to have a platform. And of course, honors to Ms. Give thanks more for staying on it.
Likewise.
Yeah.
No doubt, bro. Always, bro. That's fixed, bro. Always. Likewise, big acknowledgement to all you Moors out there, Canaanland.
Islam.
You know what I mean? Y'all doing your thing. I always love the music. And definitely big acknowledgement to my mother. And like you said, I'm in need for being able to even have this platform.
Yeah.
And taking it to different levels, man, even with the music. So, all due respect, I know we'll be back to do something different. Maybe we'll get another live stream in before the equinox or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I'm going to spin this out with some music off of you and the brother Kasir's latest project, bro.
Islam.
We got about 5 minutes left with that.
Something like that.
So, with that being said, peace, y'all. Peace to all the listeners and viewers on YouTube. We trust something can be taken from these references shared tonight. And y'all stay all the way up. Peace, man. All right?
First question I have for you, my sister, is that what are some of the misunderstandings of the Moorish history that our people really need to understand?
Wow, that's bad.
Just going on.
It's just so bad.
Right.
The main thing is people don't know anything about their nationality or birthright. How that they are. What is the Moor? That would be the first tip. It's like, what is more? What is, let's say all this stuff about more and more and more. I mean, it is the manifestation of the being into the flesh, the being who travels upon the waters of the earth, but first beginning in the waters of the mother's womb. When you look up the word more, this doesn't mean a noun. It's actually an action. So it means that we travel upon the 7 stages of development in the waters of the mother's womb. That's warring.
Look, if you want to read it Canaanland, the Moors can slay written in or Arianjo like Aziza. Read his book in Spanish, the Moors say, and said that he was a black, was introduced by those Africans. He looked at them,
They call me with a artifact, to my heart of lab. I be running through the scene like I'm on a lab. The way we left them on the scene, put us on the map. I be all up on the scene, looking hard for artists on the Moor artifact, like I'm Artemis. See, I be running through the scene like I'm on a mission. The way they left us on the scene, made it hard to miss them. See, I be all up on the scene, looking for my shit like red flags. Green statue, we assassin. Triple gold, my pen high like I'm Selassie. I'm in the cold, your men die, we everlasting. In the cold like Northgate, winter, Alaska. Natural in the pastor, taking the jam, my mind like a disaster. Ass within the fastest. You don't represent the 17 bloodline, more like bloodline. Welcome to the front line. Maybe I want mine. I'm going chasing, I'm cutting up in the lunch line. I call it crunch time. They trying to find some, but I ain't over time. I'm looking to our league. I'm working overtime. Hidden GD 1787, time 711, higher than 77, study, no guessing. Better stomach the lesson. Who be checking the house? I'm on low like Kevin 2 7. I hit him, make my case, with law and record. I trim it for the flies, no heads. I keep a seven man on the top of the dresser. But the 7 days a gig, being looking for the more artifact, like I'm Artemis. See, I be running through the scene like I'm on a mission. The way they left us on the scene, made it hard to miss them. See, I be all up on the scene, looking for my shit like
Doctrine of the Torah from a great Balaksa. I'll always shout the jurisdiction of the captains. Cap stand on your square. No apron of protractors will manifest tension. Turn out to your factor. Man is man tantra. Rule out of mantra. Get out the lowest up and vibrate your chakras. Walking on the higher road, my staff on my levels on the line. Is my God protecting all with the sevens up. From Roger Arrows, Celestial Pharaohs. Expose those Socrates and Plato's. Shot down my cherry tree and still couldn't bury me. In their secret lodges, they pretend to be me. Indiana Jones, national treasures. Angels and demons and one world agenda. Raise up late smiles, alien, reptilian, running from the government with 4 centuries. Invisible wars, police state as risen. Uplifting falling from the immense of prison. 5-point guard drawn, protecting wormholes. Leads to the hands of back, so circle.
the more artifact, like I'm Artemis. See, I be running through the scene like I'm on a mission. The way they left us on the scene, made it hard to miss them. See, I be all up on the scene, looking for my shit like.
But remember, when the came out in 1400, Africans who are playing from 7-11 to honor the Moor. MUPRS and MOORS. From 7-11